Hey there! I am excited because you finished everything you were supposed to do this week and you're ready to move on. So we're just going to pick up with page 71 in your lesson book. This is French Minuet. All right. And this is going to be a fairly short video, just introducing the next two songs, French Minuet and Morning, and giving you a few tips, and then you're going to spend the week practicing. So this unit is fairly long as far as songs go, so there'll be less exercises like what we did last week with exercises and theory. We'll be taking a break from that so that we can really dive into practicing and putting into practice these eighth notes that you've been learning. So you may already have started this one. It's pretty much all eighth notes, but when it's not eighth notes, you need to be really careful. So just make sure when you get to this quarter note that you're holding it long enough, but not too long. So all of your 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. You can count the and here to help you know how long to hold it, but just keep right on going. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Just keep counting it. They've written in these counts for you at the beginning. If you need to write the counts in for the rest of the song, if you find that that's helpful, do it. No problem with that. There's a new dynamic marking at the top, mezzo piano. Mezzo piano is just a little louder than piano. So piano is softer than mezzo piano, and forte is louder than mezzo forte. So your mezzos are in the middle. They're medium. You can think of it as standing for medium soft. But the whole song is medium soft. So as long as you're playing the whole thing the same volume and not too loud, you're fine. So there's really no big deal with that. And a minuet, any minuet, you might find lots of other minuets if you were to look it up on YouTube or whatever. It is a stately dance in 3/4 time. It tells you there at the top. And if you notice, your time signature is 3/4. So if you need to go back to your page where you practice the 3/4 time signature, that's a good way to kind of warm up for that. All right, and then turn the page. I want you to go ahead and start working on Morning. Morning is a familiar tune. You've heard the song before. Kind of makes me think of Ivory Soap and Birds Singing. You know, do 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 da 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 da. That's why we don't sing it, but that's the tune of it. That's how it goes. So this song is mostly quarter notes, but they throw in some eighth notes in there to make sure you're counting. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Because if you're not counting the ands before that, you don't really necessarily know how fast those go. So if you're already counting the ands, then you're ready to go. The left hand has some movement to it. You're going to start off on middle C with your thumb. It has the melody. And then when you turn the page, you're going to move into that C position for a C chord so the right hand can take over. So just watch those movements and it's going to move back up again, so pay attention to that. Your finger numbers are now starting to come into play when there is a challenge, and not just to remind you, hey, this is where you're already supposed to be. It may be telling you, hey, this is where you need to go, or this is where maybe you should be. So pay attention to that. More dynamic markings, crescendo and diminuendo. You could also call it decrescendo. So crescendo, decrescendo, or diminuendo. Crescendo means you're going to get louder. So it's a gradually getting louder, not just all of a sudden, hey, I'm going from piano, now I'm forte. We're going to grow louder, and that takes some practice. So as you practice both of these songs, the first thing to do is to work on playing the right note at the right time. Don't worry about slurs. Don't worry about dynamics. Don't worry about pedal. Morning has pedal in it. Just work on playing the right notes at the right time. Then go back. We practice in layers. Your next layer will be to add in those slurs. French Minuet has very long slurs from the very beginning for 4 measures to the end of that 4th measure. It's really hard to keep all of those notes nice and smooth, especially at first. So once you get familiar with the notes and the rhythms, it'll be easier to add those slurs in there. Morning also has slurs and ties and that sort of thing. So you have to pick and choose what you're going to practice first so that you can layer it with slurs and dynamics. You will have more dynamics in morning because we're going to practice these crescendos and diminuendos, getting louder, getting softer, and that will take some time. So just be patient with yourself as you work on it. The other thing in here is the phrase. The phrase is just a term we use for a musical sentence, okay? There isn't really anything new to play in here. If you just notice your slurs, if you were to have a song with words in it, your slurs would probably match up with the punctuation of the words. So you would have a slur that goes all the way until maybe there's a period or a comma. So the phrase in your music, you also have, your music tells a story. And when you get to the end of a phrase, usually if it's a slurred phrase, then it's going to be smooth and connected the whole way. This one has even longer phrases because this one starts at the very beginning, and look, it just keeps right on going until you get to the end here. So that's 2 lines, even longer than French Minuet. So, like I said, we'll work on notes and rhythms first. Play the right notes at the right time, and then add in what you feel comfortable with. Dynamics. Like I said, morning has pedal, not until you get to the 2nd page. And then it's only for three measures. It's helping your left hand move up, actually. Going from this chord, holding this chord, and then your pedal's going to hold the chord while your left hand moves back up to play the melody again. I'm sure I've left something out, but I just wanted to kind of introduce you to these songs. Please, please, please go to pianoadventures.com/adult and go down to the black buttons where it says Audiobook 1 if you haven't already been using it. It's a great resource. I listened to the French Minuet one. The slow version and the fast version don't really sound a whole lot different as far as speed. But the first version, you can hear what you're supposed to be playing in the background. The second one is a performance track that you can play along with. It doesn't play your part at all. But it gives you a beat at the beginning. It just goes 1, 2, 3, and then you go. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And I think that's it. So to work on both of these songs, French Minuet and Morning for next week, you can feel free to keep going, but just be super careful that you're counting and paying attention to those things.